Hi everyone, it's Terry here sharing a process video for Peartree Cutfiles. Welcome to Scrappy Saturday, and this is my challenge layout to scrap lift this layout of Marie's. So I'm going to create a autumnal layout rather than a Halloween layout, and first off I'm using the leaf stencil from Peartree Cutfiles just to add some colour to my background. So I'm using a selection of different distress oxides, and I'm just brushing patches of colour in autumnal colours in the background, kind of along the bottom third of my page, maybe, with a gap in the middle where the patterned paper is going to go. So I've just sped up the video so you can see how it comes along, and because I'm using a smaller stencil, I have to move it across once I've done one side. So just line it up and hold it in place with a bit of washi tape. So you'll see that you can't see all this pattern in the final layout, but you could make it bolder by having less patterned paper so you see more of the leaf stencil. I'm using one of the Pearscription Cutfiles this month, and this is the Memorable Moments with the film strip, and I decided to make that film strip into a shaker. So I've drawn around the film strip section, and I'm just cutting that out of patterned paper to be the background section of my shaker. And this is an older collection, I think it's last year's Hip Kit Club kit from kind of the autumnal time. But I've just gone for a patterned paper that's quite plain, so I'm using the B side to that pear piece. It's like got a bit of a gingham creamy colour. So again, I'm going to cut out that shape in acetate to form the front of my shaker. So I do start by holding it onto the acetate, but then I grab a couple of paper clips just to hold it in place to make it easier to trim. So this month's Pearscription Cutfiles are really versatile. You could use this for any sort of layout with any different types of collections. I've gone for something nothing to do with kind of film or theatre or photo or anything like that, but it has got photographs on, which, you know, is a film strip in itself traditionally. So I'm going to glue that acetate down to my cut file and then add some strips of foam just along the film strip edges so that I can build it up a little bit to add in some sequins. Now I'm using a sequin mix from Lucy's Cards, and it's got some really cute little leaf shaped sequins in there as well as some gems. So I'm just adding them into my shaker now. What I've done is I've kept it open at one end, and then I can add in the sequins and just kind of tip them in so that they don't fall out. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's worth it in the end. And I'm really pleased with how this shaker kind of turned out. So just shake it all down, and then you'll see the end result. So put that to one side and then focus on my layout again, back to the background. And on Marie's original layout, she's got lots of torn strips of patterned paper in the background, so I'm kind of emulating that. And she's got a few extra little bits popping up here and there, so I'm again doing just the same, and I've pulled out kind of these autumnal colours to use. So I've got this like light pinky coloured piece across the centre. I don't want anything too busy because there's going to be quite a lot going on top, and then a little bit more of a busier pattern for those extra little areas. So I've got the leaf pattern on a kind of ochre yellow, mustard yellow colour, and I'm pulling in some of that kind of creamy plaid colour that I used for the back of the shaker pocket as well, just to tie it all in together, but you can't see a huge amount of it, it's just there. I'm just working out where I want my cut file, just adding in some Nuvo drops on the dots that are on the stencil, Ideally, I don't know why, but I would have normally done this at the end, but I suddenly decided to do it in the middle of my layout. I will recommend doing it at the end, because otherwise you have a habit of putting your arm in it. So I've pulled out my photos that I'm going to use, but before I do that I just want to add a bit of colour to the words on this cut file, just so that they pop off that pink background a little bit, because I felt it was kind of getting lost in there with the white, and there were quite bright orangey yellows in the background stenciling, so I wanted to pull some of that into the front area as well. So I'm just going across the top and the bottom of those words to give a bit of an ombre type letter effect. And then you can see now that those letters really pop off the page. Now I've cut out quite a few photos, all from the same place, same event. We went to a Herdwick sheep experience up in the Lake District, and I got close to some of the cute little sheep that they've got there after having a talk about them. So I wanted to use these in this layout. So on Marie's layout, she's just used 2 photos clustered together. And what you will see is I do have more photos in this, but the basis of this layout was based on Marie's original one. So what I'm doing is I'm just fussy cutting some of these leaves from the Pink Fresh Studio patterned paper that's from the Good Times collection, which is the new collection. So it just shows how you can mix up different collections. Particularly I always find the autumn ones easier to do, because you get, and similarly with the Christmas ones, because you get similar colour schemes and just different tones. So I'm just going in and I'm tucking in lots of these little fussy cut leaf clusters to use in and around my photo. So I'm focusing on them on the edges of the film strip, kind of in and around there, and where the edge of my photo is. And I'm just adding kind of the stem of the leaf flush to the background, and then adding a foam pad just on one of the leaves, just to give it a little pop, so you get a bit of dimension on the layout as well. So it's starting to look like it's coming together, but one thing I do want to just pull in is a few of these acrylic gold leaves that Marie released this month. I just think they're so cute. In fact, I actually bought 2 packets of them. They've these beautiful gold colour and then some kind of browns, and I think they'll be perfect for all my outdoorsy photos from our trips to the Lake District this year and our walks in the autumn. So I always use glossy accents to stick these down, and I just hold them in place for a few seconds just while they kind of dry a little bit, and then they seem to stay in place perfectly. So I'm just going through, looking through some old and new ephemera. So this is from last year's Pink Fresh Studio collection, and I've added in one of those chipboard circles, and I'm just going to put this journaling piece in to give me somewhere to add my my story. So again, to tie this in with the rest of the layout, I'm just adding a couple of little leaves up at that top left corner of the journaling piece. And as I said, I'm pulling in some of the newer collection as well, the Good Times collection. So I'm going through the like the paper stickers and just pulling out some of the kind of word strips that I use on this layout, and I add 3 of them in and around my photos on the cut file. So that one says Moments That Last, and it's kind of in that lovely orangey colour. And then I pull in one that's, again, another one that's the orange colour, and I'm adding some foam pads to the back of that just to pop it up. And then I do pull out that long one that you can see on the right hand side of that piece, and put that at the bottom of the of my photos. So I feel like there's that kind of straight edge where the photos are of my husband. They just don't like that gap, so I'm adding in another one of those leaves that I've fussy cut out, and I do add an acrylic leaf there as well. Just popping this long phrase up on foam pads and popping it underneath the photos at the bottom. It just felt like it needed something down there just to kind of counteract everything else that was going on the layout. And this is my layout pretty much finished now. Thank you for joining me on YouTube today. If you want to join in the challenge, you've got until the 2nd of December, and you just have to scrap lift Marie's layout and pop it in the correct album in the Peartree Facebook group. Bye for now.